Building roads in RoadCraft is surprisingly difficult, and you're probably here because you're wondering if it's possible to even make good looking roads. I can assure you that it is. By the end of this video, you're going to have all of the information you need to build a great road in RoadCraft. Even with the starter rusty equipment, I'll show you how to do it. First, we'll start with the equipment. While there is other equipment in the game that will save you time and may be easier to use, we're going to use the rusty starter equipment to prove that it's completely possible to do this with junk equipment. First, identify where you want a road and how long you need it to be. Tabbing over to show the sandpit radius on the map can help you plan easier roads as well, since you can fill your dump truck with magic sand anywhere within these yellow areas. The further away from these you build, the longer you'll have to travel with new loads of sand. Once we've identified an area where we want a road, we'll start by prepping that area. Some areas need a lot of prep, anything from removing debris to flattening bad pieces of ground. Don't forget to remove trees and stumps if possible, and remember that not all trees can be removed, so plan around them. Debris that can't be removed with a crane can sometimes be smashed with a bulldozer, so try smashing anything you don't like the look of or anything that's in your way. Rocks and boulders can be pushed out of the way, and small garbage can often be pushed around or buried with sand. Remember to do this for a little further out than where you actually want to build the road to give yourself plenty of room to work. If you're doing one of these mission areas, follow this video's instructions until the end of the sand step. You're just going to do your paving a little bit differently. Next, we're going to run sand, and the most important rule you need to remember with sand is that you need way more than you think you do. For this road here, for example, we're going to start with 3 full rows of sand and then decide if we need more later. Next, we're going to start in the middle and work our way out with the sand flattening setting on the grater blade. We also want to work from one end to the other on every pass. Try really hard not to start and stop in the middle of your road, because you will end up with weird little divots and bumps all over your road. Make all of your adjustments from one full end to the other. Start off the road and end off the road. I know it increases the time that it takes to fix little issues, but I promise you, you're going to get a better looking road. And at the end of the day, it means you flatten the sand more times, and that will give you a smoother surface. Never push sand away from the road like this. Always make sure you're pushing in the direction of the road and using the edge of your blade to widen the road little by little. The less sand you manipulate at a time, the better your result and the easier it is to fix mistakes. If you have a junction, push sand outward into the junction with a smooth turn and continue in that direction. Now, this part will make more sense when we start paving, but use more sand on each end than you intend to pave. So if I want to pave to here, I'll add flattened sand a few meters out for later connections. Now, once we've done our first few passes, we should have an idea of where our road has problems. For example, low spots need more sand to bring them up to height, and narrow areas need more sand on the edges to widen them out. Once we have the general shape we're looking for, we can start going for smoothness. This is the single most important step. Paving and rolling will not fix issues in your road. Your sand is what needs to be perfect. The best way to get a really smooth surface is to start in the middle with a few passes and then work outward from there using the edge of the grater blade. If a problem with height starts to come out, go back to the middle and start working outwards towards that edge again to reset the height. A little more sand can be added if it's really bad, but you'll want to avoid this unless absolutely necessary, as it has a good chance to do more harm than good. Take as many passes as you need. Think of paving as a way to lock in your road shape, because it's much harder to fix later than it is now. Now, don't be too hard on yourself. Depending on the conditions, a perfect road isn't always possible. Just do the best that you can and accept that all roads have some rough spots. Once we're happy with our road, we're going to lock it in with some asphalt. The more time you spend flattening your road, the easier this part will be and the better it will look. So this is your last chance to make sure you really have a flat sand surface with your grater. Now, once you're ready, there are 2 different strategies here. We need to go over both, and you're going to need to know both, because one is for mission area roads and one is for your own roads everywhere else. We're gonna start with how to do non-mission roads. Grab your paver and start on one end of the road. Remember, we don't want to pave all the way to the sand edge, so we'll go a few meters away. Now, this is going to be a little bit weird, but it actually works better if you pave the first line backwards. This is because your paver will be driving on the asphalt that you're putting down, making for a much smoother ride and holding you above the bumps. Turn the paver around and starting in the center of the road, drive to the other end backwards. Again, make sure you leave plenty of sand at the end of your road as well. If you run into any particularly bad bumps, turn off the paver, pass the bump, and turn it back on. You could try going back over it from that side, but it may be easier to come back later and try and get it then. Once we have our main strip down the middle, we're going to work on widening this a couple of feet at a time. You can drive forward again, but the idea is to keep the tracks on laid asphalt for a smoother ride. This keeps the applicator raised to the proper height. We'll then widen our road using the edge of the paver until we're happy with the width. Remember that there will be a natural edge on that pavement, so make sure you go about a foot wider than you actually want the drivable surface to be. You can check the width from the map just like the sand and make any gradual adjustments to widen. If you need to go from a wide road to a narrow road, make that change as gradually as possible. If you want to get fancy with it, you can also add a turnout or a parking lot if you need it to store equipment. For junctions, start with a center strip going out into the junction and then widen out from there. For the edges of that turnout, you can do a gradual arc into the junction for easier access. This is especially helpful with NPCs or AI convoys because they're not great at following the lines. Again, just as a reminder, leave a sand bumper anywhere you may want to add a road later. This includes at junctions as well. Now, in the case that you need to connect to a road without a dirt bumper, you can brush a small amount of sand over the already completed asphalt end to be repaved over. If done correctly, it will actually combine into one smooth road, but it won't be as smooth as if it was done with a sand bumper. One quick pro tip, don't forget that the paver does actually have a low mode that can be used on challenging inclines or if you get stuck, or even just to limit your speed to allow for more control. Now, if you're paving a mission area, you're pretty much going to do the same thing, but there's a small hitch you need to work around. Once the mission completes, it's going to do whatever it wants with your road. It'll adjust the direction, the width, the paving, and any extra work you've done around it is going to look like garbage. So to get around that, all you need to do is focus on just completing the mission area. Pave the minimum area it wants and then roll it until the lines turn green. It'll complete the mission, adjust the road to its liking, and then you're free to expand the road from there in the same way as before. Usually it messes up the dirt on the edge, so I do recommend hitting it one more time with the grater, then widening the road just as you would for a non-mission road. Now for the rolling. This step is super simple and pretty much impossible to mess up. Start in the middle of your road and work outwards towards the edge. Make sure you fully roll the edge so that you overlap just a little bit for the best results. Same goes for junctions. If you're noticing you're getting holes in your pavement, sometimes that's inevitable, but usually it's an indicator that you didn't use enough sand. You can add a little bit of sand on top of that paving, but it may come out bumpy. That's pretty much it. If all went right, you should have a clean and smooth road. It'll probably have a few issues and bumps, but at the end of the day, you're going to be flying past them without even remembering that they're there. You can apply everything you learned in here to things like parking lots, hole fills, and really any other paving that you're going to do not related to roads. Remember, more sand than you think you need and spend most of your time on that sand layer. Tearing up and repaving roads is worse than you think it is and never seems to go quite right. I don't think there's a way to add lines onto the road, but I hope that eventually makes its way into the game or with a mod. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. Let me know how this goes for you and if you have any other tips that might help other players. Otherwise, be sure to save this video for later. If you want to come hang out, I'm live on Twitch every day as well. Check the description for the link and come say hi if I was any help. See you there.